Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Got a crazy story for you out of China. Tim passed it along to me, so did a few other people. Widely reported, including by the BBC. But a man threw coins into the engine of his airplane for good luck. And that's not a good thing. And so he got arrested, and he's been fined now $17,000. This is happening in China. But apparently this is a problem over there. They have a problem convincing people that you don't throw coins into the engine of a jet for good luck. In fact, that would be the exact opposite. That would probably bring you bad luck if you throw coins into the engine of the jet. The passenger's name is Lu Chao. He's 28 years old. This was the first time he'd ever flown, which doesn't surprise me in the least. He was on board a plane in February of 2019, and the airline is Lucky Air. Again, I don't make this stuff up. If you're going to have an airline name in America, you'd never call it Lucky Air. You'd call it Safe Air or Mighty Air or, we'll get you there Air, but Lucky Air? No. So Lucky Air from Angking Tianjuan Airport in eastern China was where he was flying from, but he never got to fly because he got arrested. He threw some coins into the engine of the plane, making a wish for a good flight. Into the engine. He appeared in court in July, but the ruling was just made now, according to the BBC, and that ruling was he's got to pay $17,200. At the time, ground crew members found some coins near the engine. He ordered the plane evacuated while they searched the engine for more. The flight was then canceled, and passengers were stranded as the airline had to arrange replacement flights for many people who didn't even get to fly that day because some knucklehead was throwing coins into the engine of the plane for good luck. Now, here's the problem. I know a little bit about turbine engines. Wrote a book about a Chrysler turbine car. And turbine engines, jet engines, things like that have lots of internal parts that are spinning at extremely high rates of speed. And they're usually finely balanced, exotic metals, precision, expensive, and the slightest thing in there can cause trouble. In fact, you've heard of bird strikes. An airplane is taking off, and a bird goes in the engine, and whatever happens to it in there, I don't know, but it doesn't end well for the bird. But it often will cause the engine to shut down. Coins are metal, and pieces of metal bouncing around inside the engine if it was running would not be a good thing either. So, regardless of size, any pieces of metal that fell into the engines would damage its turbine blades at a high-speed rotation, said a legal expert in China's aviation industry speaking to Beijing Youth Daily. His name is Zhang Qihai. The shattered pieces could start a fire, lead to oil pipe rupture, and the engines to stop, which of course would endanger the airplane. And here's the problem. If you imagine the physics, and I know there's some physicists in my audience, they argue with me about stuff. But if you imagine the physics of what's happening inside a turbine engine, you've got fan blades spinning very, very fast, tens of thousands of RPM. And if one of those blades comes loose, okay, it doesn't just fall to the ground. It goes rocketing off to no one knows where. Mankind can't figure this out. They rocket off at an extremely high velocity. And they go through things like metal. Occasionally you hear about fan blades breaking loose and slicing through the airplane they're attached to, or just shooting off into the distance. But it's bad when the blades come loose, and that's what happens when you get metal in there. You don't want these things happening. Do not want these things happening. So he was detained, the man was, by the police for 10 days. He was charged with disturbing public order and was then sued by the airline, and the court ordered him to pay $17,200. That's a conversion issue from 120,000 won. He argued in court, now this is interesting, that the airline should have warned people not to throw coins at the plane, which apparently is a common thing people do in China for good luck, even though they're flying Lucky Air. You're flying Lucky Air. You don't need luck. You're as lucky as you can get. You're on Lucky Air, but people throw coins at the plane. Well, apparently people also throw coins into the engine, and so they've actually had to put up signs, and they've actually had to make it illegal and pass a law saying it is illegal to throw coins into the engine of the airplane. Now, I've mentioned this before. When you see a sign that says don't do something stupid, they put the sign up usually because someone did something stupid. Now, I've seen warning labels on stuff that They probably just put there out of, an abundance of caution, as we say. But apparently this is a common problem in China, people throwing money into the engines of airplanes. In 2017, 2 different instances occurred. One was an 80-year-old woman taken into custody for throwing coins into the engine of a Lucky Air flight. And a 76-year-old woman was arrested for also throwing coins into the engine of a Lucky Air flight. So the takeaways here are this. If you're in China and you're flying on a Lucky Air and you need spare change, go stand near the engines. The money will come flying at you. And by the way, you'll be doing a public service by keeping it out of the engines. But the problem is apparently one with education. People need to be told certain things. And I understand that people who've got superstitions or believe in luck or things like that, I understand that some of them are not going to change their beliefs overnight. But you have to explain to somebody how jet engines work and point out to them that there's this thing there, an engine, and it's got blades that you can often see at the front. You can see one of the front fan sections. And behind it are more fan sections going all the way through, a bunch of different fan sections. And the fan sections spin very, very fast, and the fan sections are made out of metal. And no matter how much luck you want or how much you want to pray to it or worship it or think about it or revere it or whatever it is that you want to do with respect to this thing that's a man-made object, that if you were to insert something foreign in there that doesn't belong in there, when those things are spinning at high rates of speed, bad things are going to happen, not just to the coin you throw in there, but to the engine, which is attached to the wing of the airplane you're flying on that was only lucky in name because it had a bout of bad luck because some knuckleheads got on after throwing foreign objects into the engine. Think of the irony. The irony. If you want good luck on your Lucky airline, the last thing you do is throw things into the engine. So I guess the takeaway here, you want a takeaway? I'll give you a takeaway. Don't fly Lucky Air in China. Never start a ground war in Asia. These are all things that we should all think about. So there you go. True story out of China. $17,000 would it cost a man and 10 days in jail. And all he did is he wanted some more luck on Lucky Airlines. I just now realized that there could be a second, like a double meaning to Lucky Airlines. Oh, well. Let's not worry about that now. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. # hostage of my own emotions. # free Lehto.